So we're on the Mishnah, and that is Lamed Aleph Lamed Beis. So we'll try and see what happens. Shlosh Achin, Nisuin Shalosh Nachmiyos, Umeis Echad Mehem, Bosaba Sheni Ma'amar, Umeis. So we had this before, once before. Is the diagram showing? Those out there in Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So here you have three brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. We tried the names this time, maybe it'll make it easier. And married to three Nachrios, not sisters. There happens to be that one of them, the Reuven's wife over here, is not relevant, even though it says probably. Look at Tosha says you don't need this one. You're not going to be in the story at all. He's married, he's not married. It's not the point. So here, according to the order of the sequence over here, 1, 2, 3. First, Levi died. One of them died, and now his wife falls to Hebron. So one of the brothers started doing Yibum. He did Mamar. He didn't Mamash marry, he just did Mamar. That was number 2. And then Shimon died. The one who did Mamar died. So the question is, does she fall to Reuven, the surviving brother? So we would say, why not? The problem is because the Mamar is somewhat yes, somewhat not. It's not 100%. So that's going to be the issue of the Mishnah and the Gemara, what the problem is. And the Mishnah calls it that we look at her as if she's being pulled to Reuven on account of two brothers. Both of them died. She was the wife of both of them. First, she was the wife of Levi, and she's falling to Hebron because of him. And no one yet took her. He just did Mama. He didn't actually complete taking her yet. And then now that Shimon died, so then she's falling to Reuven also because of Shimon. So that's called Zika Shnei Yevamos. She's being connected to Reuven on account of two brothers. And no, the pasuk says only Hebron was only but from one brother, not from two brothers. And because of that, so then whatever problem that is, that Reuven cannot be miyavim to this woman who has account of two of his brothers. So then the tzara, which is somewhat of a co-wife also, now that she got Mamar in, so Shimon has his own original wife and also this incoming wife, which didn't get all the way in. So she also cannot do Yibum.
If he didn't make Mama, he could marry both?
If he did not make, right, 100%. If he had not done Mama, so then two.
So the fact that he has Zika from two doesn't matter.
But that the Gemara talks in. The Gemara goes back before that, maybe not. If you hold that, I think that was a sugi before. If you hold Zika, that would be a problem that he shouldn't be able to either. I think the Gemara spoke about it.
Okay.
But here the Gemara says that if there is a Mamar, so then there's a problem. She's being pulled by two husbands. And if not for the Mamar, then it's mashma that there are two brothers, each one has a wife. And yes, both of them fall to Hebron, and Reuven would take both of them. But since he did Mamar, let's say all the possibilities. If there was no Mamar, he takes both of them, Yibum, both of them, two separate brothers. If he would have married her Mamar, Yibum, so then he has two wives, and Levi is out of the picture. Shimon has two wives, and you only take one of them, because you only can take one of the two wives of Shimon. But now that it's Mamar, so something in between, so he can't take both of them, and they have to, but he has to take care of both of them. He has to do something to both of them, because maybe she's partly a wife of Levi, so therefore both of them need chalitza. That was the Mishnah. 3 brothers married to 3 unrelated women. One of them died, and the second one did Ma'amar, and then he died. So then because it says only if she has the binding of one yab, not she has the binding of 2. So Shimon holds no, that but what Rashi explains that he doesn't have this partial connection. It's not a partial connection. It's either yes or no. It means there are two tzadim. Either Mamar is considered a complete marriage, or Reb Shimon, or it's nothing. So on the side that it's nothing, so then she has to be miyabim both of them. If it's a complete connection, then he takes one of the two. So Reb Shimon says that he could be miyabim one and then give chalitza to the other one. Means whichever one he does yibum 2 first, whichever one he does yibum 2 first, that's a good yibum, and then the other one he shouldn't do yibum because it might be both from the same wife. If the Ma'amar does count, then it's both wives of Shimon, and he won't be able to do yibum to both of them. But he can't just leave the other one alone because maybe they're 2 separate houses, Shimon and Levi, and then he'd have to take care of both of them. So therefore he does chalitza. So one of them he does yibum, and the other one chalitza. Tanakama holds that the yibum, the Ma'amar seems to be something in between. We'll see the Gemara in a second. And Reb Shimon holds that it's not in between, it's either everything or nothing. If it's everything, then Shimon has 2 wives. If it's nothing, then Shimon has 1 wife, Levi has 2 wives. So in order to satisfy all the tzadim, both of them should, one of them gets Yibum and the other one can get Chalitza. Of course, he can give Chalitza to both of them, but the point is that he doesn't have to. According to Tanakama, he must do Chalitza to both of them. He can't give Yibum to any one of them. But according to Rav Shimon, he can do Yibum to one of them and Chalitza to the other.
Which is the halach.
Okay, these things don't happen so much, so I imagine Allah is going to be like the Rabbanan, but if he eats, the Mara doesn't understand the Tanakama. If there's such a thing that there's a drasha, like it says in the Mishnah, such a drasha, only one of them, only if one of them is coming, she's coming from the co-op of one of the dead brothers, not that she's coming from two. If that's a real drasha, so then there's no yibum, no chalitza, no such thing on a Torah level that the Torah says to do chalitza without yibum. If the Torah says she's not chayiv, so then there's nothing. That's the Moras Kasha, Bizika Shnei Yevam the Raisa, chalitza namaloti boy. The Mishnah, the way it says it is strange because if this halach will be halacha the Raisa, so then shouldn't need chalitza either. So the Gemara says that don't take the Mishnah literally. It's only an asmachta. That it's not a deraisa. It's only telling you like a asmachta. But the real reason Rav Shimon is concerned, is the Tanakam is concerned, is because it looks like to people. It looks like Shimon has two wives. Really not. Really, he only has one wife, and the mom is really nothing. Levi has a wife, and really both of them should do yibum to Reuven. Should have yibum from Reuven because both of his brothers have a wife. But people look at it like Shimon married her already, and therefore they might confuse it and say that a person who has two wives and he dies, so then both of them should do yibum. That there's he didn't yibum to both of them, and that's not true. That's a mistake.
If there was no minor, then he could marry them both. Is that what I'm saying?
Right, because they're two separate brothers.
Right.
But and even if there was mama, really the Rabbanan hold that mama is nothing, and therefore he should be. It's not really connected, and therefore it's still considered the wife of Levi. He should be able to do even to both of them. But they made Xera because the people, so once he did mama, it looks like Shimon has married her. It looks like he has two wives. And if you can do Yibum to both of them, people are not going to realize that it's Yibum to from two brothers. They'll think that it's both Yibum from the same house of Shimon. And they'll think that when that happens, that a person dies and has two wives, both wives are supposed to do Yibum. So we want to avoid that mistake. So we say in this case also do Chalitza. So even though the Mishnah sounds like it's a Daraisa, this special halacha that two brothers are pulling her, she's being Yimsabe Mikoah, the death of two husbands, that she was married to Levi and she's also still married to Shimon. That's not the pshat. It's not really the pshat. The pshat is really because people would think that it's two wives from the same house. Okay, even if that's the problem, so that would be a reason not to be Yabim both of them, because people will think that there's Yibum to two wives of the same husband. But it would be no harm in doing Yibum to one and then doing Chalitza to the other one. Because even if they'll make a mistake and think that by one husband that has two wives and you do Yibum to one, Chalitza to the other, there's no great damage. What's the problem? So they'll do that. They'll do Yibum to one, Chalitza to the other. No damage. The Gemara says, the bottom line, that people would think again the same idea that there's one, they're all married to one of the brothers, and they'll think that when there's a man that dies that has two wives, one of them gets yibum, one of them gets chalitza. So the Gemara says, okay, if let it be v'yomru, let them say, what's the problem? Is there any problem? If they would think that that's halacha, that when there's, let's say, when there's a man that has two wives and they think that one needs yibum, one needs chalitza, there's no damage done. Second one needs chalitza, fine, no problem. The Gemara says, you're right, sometimes. If what they would do, that they would do yibum to the first one and then chalitza to the second one, it's not no danger, no damage. There would be a damage if they would think to do chalitza first when there's a man that has two wives and they would do chalitza, the remaining brother would do chalitza to one and then yibum to the second one, then it's really a problem, because once he did chalitza first, so then there's Allah, you're not supposed to do yibum anymore. Surely that to the one they did chalitza to, it's a lav, and to the other one we had a machlokas before, it's a koreh, so it's a lav, but that's not supposed to be done in any case. So therefore there is a danger. So again, how does it go according to Rabbanan? The Deraisa, they're two separate brothers with two separate wives. You should leave them to both of them. We're scared that people will learn out of this that even if there's one brother that has two wives, we do to them both. So yibum, that's very dangerous. And even to do yibum and chalitza, they might ending up doing chalitza and then yibum, and that'll be wrong. So therefore, we say do chalitza to both of them.
In fact, Shimon should have married, or
he was on the way to marry her, but he was on the way. He was on the way to do yibum. First he does ma'amar kedusha, and then he's going to do yibum. But before he had a chance to do that, he died. and now they're both falling to Ruvain. Levi's original wife, and that was only the Marma so far. She's really Levi's wife. Shimon has another wife that also has to do Yibum. Really should do Yibum to both of them, but because it is Chash Rabbanan, people will think that Shimon has two wives, and they'll do Yibum to both of them, or Chalitza and then Yibum to the other one. People will think that that's the halach when a person has two wives, and that's not true. A person has two wives, they only take care of one of them, the other one is nothing. So Kamash, they don't do anything to the other one. Kamash Malan. So therefore, we made this Gezerah and said that she should only have Chalitza. Both of them should only do Chalitza. The Gemara continues. Amar Rava, Nasan Getam Amaro. Hutra Rasa, Avali Asura, the Michlafa Babalas Aget. Ikadami, Amar Rava, Nasan Getam Amaro, Hutra Filuhi, my timer, my Davad Ba Shakla. This case, same case, going in the same case of the Mishnah. And this case that Shimon had done Maimar and then he died, that caused the whole problem that now it looks like Shimon has two wives. So what would be the case if he would have given a get to his mama? Means he first did mama to this woman, Leah, Levi's wife, and then he decided to back out. He doesn't want to, so he doesn't want to marry her, so he gave her a get. Rashi says there's a difference between if he gives a get for the mama or the get for the zika. And that's probably going to be sugis later on. There's every time that as soon as she falls to Yibum, she's called as kuka, whatever this is zika. And sometimes if he gives a get, he thinks the get is going to break the zika. That's not true. You need chalitza to break the zika, to break the chiyuv b'yibum. So that's called giving a get for the zika. And Agmar is talking about a get for the ma'amar that he did ma'amar, which is kind of a kedushin. And now he wanted to break that, but he didn't give it to break the zika. He just gave it for the kavanah that he wanted to break the ma'amar that he did. So the Gemara discusses. The Gemara says that now, what was the problem? That he brought in another wife, and now it looks like he has two wives, and we don't want both of them to get Yibum from Reuven. But now the Gemara says if he did Ma'amar, if he did get, he knocked off that Ma'amar that he did. He canceled the Ma'amar that he did. So now, surely Shimon's wife could do Yibum to Reuven, because whatever the problem was, that as if Shimon has two wives, is taken care of, because she was removed. Leah got a get from that Ma'amar. As much as she was connected, she was disconnected. But the Gemara does have two versions if Leah herself is allowed to have Yibum to Reuven. Here, the Gemara says that the reason why it might be us is because you might think that to confuse between a get for Ma'amar and a get for the Zika. If he would have given a get to the Zika, then he wouldn't be allowed to marry her. Once he pushed her away, so then he's not allowed to marry her. But it seems that the Sarah he would be allowed to marry her. So even over here, he only gave a get for the Ma'amar, and he really does not push away Leah. Leah should be able to marry Reuven because the get that he gave was not intended to push away the Zika. So Reuven should be able to marry her. But because of a Gzera, the people will think, in a case, we'll give a get for the Zika, and over there, Reuven is not allowed to marry her anymore. So then maybe he should not marry Leah. Those are the two versions in the Gemara. We'll see it inside. Amarava, if he gave a get for the Ma'amar, so then surely the Tzara was mutter, the wife of Shimon. Aval hi asura, according to the first version, she's asa because it's going to be exchanged, confused with the balas get. Rashi says a get that was given for the Zika. And Igadami, Amarava, no, that's not even for her. Nasan get Amara, Hutra Afiluhi. Even she herself will also be mutter because whatever he did, he canceled my time on my davad bashakle. Whatever he did, which we said, what did he do? He connected her with the Ma'amar. So he disconnected it by giving her a get. And you don't make zera that people will think that even if he gave a get for the Zika, also we can still marry her, Reuven can still marry her. So that's the two Lashonis in Rava.
So who is Reuven going to do Yibum?
He surely could do Yibum to the wife of Shimon, and the wife of Levi, he's supposed to do Chalitza, maybe. And the second Lashon says, no, he could do Yibum to both of them. Whatever he did, he removed. And it's as if that Levi died and Shimon died, two brothers died, both of them have a wife. Then the mama was canceled, and Reuven could do Yibum to both of them. The Mishnah continues. Shnei Yachin Nesu and Shnei Achayos. This we had a couple of times. This is the simple case relatively. Shnei Yachin Nesu and Shnei Achayos. So Meisa Echad Mayam v'Achakach Meisa Ishto Shal Sheni. Did I get it right over here? Something. I think something's wrong. No, something. I think. I went the wrong way. Here it is. Okay. So we're on the.
You really got it together now.
I hope so.
Look at that. So
Okay. Here's a case: two brothers married to two wives, and one brother died first, and then the wife of the other one died. So let's take it slow. When the brother died. So his wife falls to Yibum. But no, he can't do Yibum because it also happens to be his wife's sister. So we had already that this is one of the Arayas, a wife's sister, and therefore, even though Yibum overrides a brother's wife, but it doesn't override any other erva. So therefore, when he died, he was not allowed to marry his Yevama to do Yibum because she was his wife's sister.
Even though she died.
Who died? No, slow. I went slow.
Oh, before she died.
Yes, at the time that his brother died, we call him Shimon. Shimon died. Reuven was not allowed to do Yibum to the wife because it was his wife's sister.
Right.
But then, subsequently, his wife died.
Okay.
Do we call her back and say, now come, now I can do Yibum? That's the Mishnah. Two brothers married to two sisters. One of them died. And then his wife died. She's forever usher to him. Why? Since at the time that she felt Yibum, she was usher because she was the wife's sister. Even though now she's not anymore the wife's sister, she's usher forever.
If she would have died before.
Before what? Before the brother died?
Before he died?
Yes, and then she's mutter.
Then mutter.
Yeah, because it's a wife's sister is only us as long as his wife is there, and his wife died. So then she's mutter marry, and then with the brother. So then there's no issue standing the way only the brother's wife.
Or died of divorce.
No, only died.
Only died, no divorce.
Divorce. Yeah, that's in the Chumash already. That it's only mutter to marry your wife's sister only after she dies. If he divorces her, he can't take a sister. I once heard a story. I hope that it's not true. I heard a story that people didn't know, and they did such a thing. That he divorced his wife, and then he married her sister. It wasn't was out of town or something like that, and they didn't have a rabbi that knew what he's doing.
Wow.
And he didn't know the facts. He didn't know that he had to. And that's a chayv chorus, the kids are mamzerim. So the Gemara, that's the Mishnah we just learned. This is the Daf base. This is our daf, and this is the Mishnah we just learned, which is quite simple. The Gemara is the kasha that on Daf Lamed we had a more of a chiddush, and the Gemara is going to ask that once you had Daf Lamed, then the Lamed base is the case in Daf Lamed. Rashi brings it down that there were three brothers and two are married to two sisters, and let's see in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the brothers died. Let's say Shimon died, and then Levi did Yibum as he's supposed to, and then. Oh, and why was he supposed to? Because Reuven cannot have done. He was the only brother available. Reuven was not able to do Yibum to Shimon's wife because it was his wife's sister. And then Reuven's wife died, and she's not anymore his wife's sister. And then Levi died, and she's falling to Reuven because Levi died. And at the time that Levi died, she's not anymore Reuven's wife's sister because his wife had died already. So do we say that she's mutter? Could Reuven marry this woman? So the Mishnah before said no, because once upon a time she was at the time when Shimon had died, she was usher to him because at that time his wife was alive and it was his wife's sister. So even though now by the second Nefila, when she's coming now not as Shimon's wife, she's falling to Reuven now as Levi's wife, and now already it's not anymore his wife's sister because his wife died. Still it's usher, and that's a bigger chiddush than our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is that there was no third brother, and she's coming from the first Nefila, that surely if this is true, if this case is true, that since she once upon a time was usher, even though at the time afterwards she came now from Levi, and now she's coming as Levi's wife, still once upon a time she was Shimon's wife, and at that time she couldn't have married to Reuven because his wife was still alive. So surely this case is a simple case. That's the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara on top, the Gemara right away, Pshita, Hashem, Hashem, the Mishnah before the Flamet, the dish wasn't pushed away, means that there was another brother that took her over there, and still you say lo that she can't ever marry Reuven again because once upon a time she was usher to him at the time when she fell to him for the first husband. Over here that as in our case when her husband died, she was pushed away from the house. Means there's no third brother, there's nobody to do even to her. So at this point, she was definitely pushed away, and even she was, you could add on, she was mutter to get married already. So surely not going to bring her back and say that now you're obligated again because the wife died. So that goes without saying. Tamar says you're right. Once you have this Mishnah on the Flamet, you don't need the Mishnah on the Flamet base anymore. It goes without saying. I was going to say the same style as the Gemara said before, that originally the Tana held that this case would be mutter. That Flama would have been mutter because it was another brother and it's falling from a second Yibum. And even though once upon a time she was the wife's sister, but now it's coming from Levi, not from Shimon, and now it's mutter. So he held that as mutter. And only this case was Asa. So he only said this Mishnah. He only said our Mishnah. But then he reconsidered and he said this case is also Asa. So he put it in and he put it even first because it was Chaviv. This was the Chiddush. And he didn't erase the other Mishnah that he had put in. So at the end of the story, all you have to have is the Mishnah before, and our Mishnah goes without saying. But the reason why it's here is because once upon a time that was the only truth, and this Mishnah was not true. And then when they decide that it is true, they left the other Mishnah also. But the Gemara answers. Tana Bereisha. The Tana first said the Flamet base first. The other Mishnah, the case before, he would have thought that it was mutter. B'shari would have been mutter. Then he changed his mind and he said that's not aser. And since it was beloved to him, this new chiddush, there was a chiddush, so he said it first. He prefaced it. The Mishnah goes as a mamkoma, and he didn't move this other Mishnah, the second Mishnah. He left it also, even though now it's ready pshita. Once you have the first Mishnah, then the second Mishnah is takapasha. Tana Rabbanan. We're starting a new sugya now, a new cruise, and it's very much of a shas sugya. It's not limited only to us. Let's see what we can do over here. Yeah, here is a regular case of two brothers that marry two sisters. Two brothers marry two sisters. So let's call him Reuben. Is Asa to Shimon's wife on many counts. It's his brother's wife, and it's his wife's sister. And even if Shimon would die, it's still, if there's a question of Yibum, also wouldn't make a difference anyway, because it's still his wife's sister. What if he had relations with her? He did have relations with her. On how many counts did he do an Avera? It's his brother's wife, and it's his wife's sister. So that's going to be the sugya now. Rav Yossi holds that it's chayv on two counts. Let's say the case would have been, you can't, there's chayv chorus over here. It's not a chayv misa, it's chayv chorus, but it would have been a chayv two chatos. Let's say he had relations unintentionally. He didn't know that who it was. He thought that it was his wife. He made a mistake. It was really his sister-in-law. So it's his sister-in-law on two counts. It's his brother's wife and it's his wife's sister. So both of them are asir. So it's chayv on two counts. And Rav Shimon Omer in a chayv ela mishomei shesach b'vad. Only for being the brother's wife, he's not chayv v'chatas for having relations with his wife's sister, even though it's also his wife's sister. The Gemara is going to bring in this issue. This is going to be the sugi called ein issa chala lissa. That once one issa took effect, the second issa doesn't come. That's going to be the whole sugi. It's going to be a couple of pages. And Rav Shimon seems to say that ein issa chala lissa. So therefore, he's only chayv for one. It's only his brother's wife. The Master Kasha, Another verse says the opposite. And according to Reb Shimon, is only chayv for being his wife's sister, not being his brother's wife. And the Gemara says, Lo Kasha, so in this case, that there are two marriages, right? Both brothers married the sisters. So which it's possible for either one to come first. Let's say this brother married, I have it over here. Here's a case that this marriage happened first and this marriage happened second. Two brothers, one he married one sister, the other one married the other sister. But he married, at this point when he married his wife, this woman became Musar to him because it's his wife's sister. That was the one that happened first. And then when his brother married her, it also becomes his brother's wife. So in this case, this would be the case that she became his wife's sister first. And then you say that Issa was Chal first, and the second Issa afterwards when his brother marries, so then the Issa of the brother's wife doesn't take effect because it's already Asa. And Issa Chal Issa. The Issa of being the brother's wife doesn't come on top of the Issa of being the wife's sister. If it'll be the other case, that this other brother got married first, and then he married. So at the time when his brother married, it became his brother's wife. And then when he married the sister, the same woman became his wife's sister. So then it's going to be the opposite, that the Issa that took effect first was the brother's wife, and then later, and that took effect. And then the second one, that by his marriage, it now becomes his wife's sister, that doesn't take effect. Whichever came in first, that's the one that takes effect, and the second one can't. There's no room for the second Issa to be Chal. What the Gemara calls that is called Nasa Meis V'Achkach Nasa Chai, Nasa Chai V'Achkach Nasa Meis. The case over here is talking about that one of them died. That's the case that we're talking about. And now means that she's not an Eishes Ish at the time. If she would have been married, then you could throw in also that she's an Eishes Ish. She's married to somebody, to his brother. But leave that out. He died. Yibum doesn't make a difference over here because there is no Yibum. So this is called Nasachai V'Yakach Nasameis. This case would mean the one that eventually stayed alive was the one who got married first, and the one that eventually died is the one who married second. So this is the case where it's only going to be a Chosisha. The Issa that came first was being the wife's sister. And this case is called Nasameis V'Yakach Nasachai. This is the case that the one who eventually died married first, and then the one who lived, he's the one that's called Nasachai. And in this case, when he has relations with that woman, it's only going to be chayiv for his brother's wife, not for his wife's sister, because ain't Issa Chalalissa. That's what Rabbi Shimon holds. Rabbi Yossi seems to hold, the Pasha says Rabbi Yossi holds Issa Chalalissa, and therefore both, we don't care which one was first. We'll see soon, the Gemara is going to get into that, but it seems that Rabbi Shimon holds ain't Issa Chalalissa, whichever one happened to historically come first. And according to Rabbi Yossi, we don't care which one came first. The second one could be chal on the first one anyway. Rabbi Shimon Omer l'chayiv el mishum meishasach. The other Brisa says ein l'chayiv el mishum achosisha, and it says depends which one married first, and it's just a technicality. Whichever one comes first, that's the one that takes effect. Second one doesn't have any room to take effect. The Mars the Kasha, interesting Kasha. Rabbi Shimon hechad the nasa meis v'yachach nasachai chivin the iser achosisha lo chayo tisyabem yevumi nasa meis v'yachach nasachai. In this case, in nasa meis v'yachach nasachai. So what we say that. Isser, which is to take place over here first. The one who eventually died got married first, and then he got married. So what do we say? The Isser that came first was the brother's wife. True? Everybody's with me?
Yeah.
That the brother's wife, and then later on when he married the other sister, so then it doesn't become the wife's sister because it's already taken. And Isser Chalalissa, the Isser for this man to this woman is only going to be that it's his brother's wife. I was going to ask now, so then when he dies without children, so why don't you say that he can marry her?
Why can he?
Why can he not marry her? We say cannot because it's considered it's an erva. What kind of erva? The erva of being the wife's sister doesn't take effect. It's only the brother's wife. The mitzvah of Yibum overrides being a brother's wife. Every time it's a brother's wife. But
But that's only because his low Isser, you don't put one Isser for the,
yes.
you don't put one Chatasa onto another one.
So ain't it's a halal.
But the relationship is still in.
There's no Isser. There's no Isser of a Chosisha. There's no Isser of being the wife's sister. There's no such Isser. It doesn't take. There's an Isser, but it doesn't take effect over here because it's already taken. There's no room for it to be found. So the Isser between this man and this woman is only going to be that it's a brother's wife, and Yibum overrides that. So why can't he be miyavim her? That's the Gemara's kasha. Rav Shimon, and the Isser that took first was the brother's wife, and then the wife's sister doesn't take effect. Since the Isser of being the wife's sister doesn't take effect, let her do Yibum, because it's only Isser of brother's wife there, and Yibum overrides that. Ravashi, Isser achos isha misla toli v'koi, hipaki Isser eshesach asi Isser achos isha v'chayo, v'hilkach lo paka. The Gemara answers that it's true that as long as you have it's true that as long as you have the Isser of being the brother's wife, the Isser of being the wife's sister doesn't take effect. That's true. But if for any reason the Isser of the brother's wife is going to disappear, let's say if somehow it will disappear, for instance by Yibum, so then the Isser of being the wife's sister is right there behind it. It's pushed. It wants to come in. It's like there's a line coming into the room and it's full already, can't get in. But then as soon as it gets vacated, it comes in. So the Isser of a Chosisha doesn't disappear. It's right there. It's pushing by the door. And it can't, as soon as the Isser of being the brother's wife is going to disappear, the Isser of a Chosisha is going to kick in. So it's not going to be mutter to do Yibum.
You remove the.
As soon as this Isser will be removed by Yibum, let's say the mitzvah of Yibum, when the mitzvah of Yibum kicks in, when the brother dies, the mitzvah of Yibum overrides the Isser of being the brother's wife. So theoretically, we'll take away the Isser of brother's wife, but then the Isser of being the wife's sister will kick in. So it's us to have relations. But the Gemara says more than that. The Gemara doesn't just say that the Isser of brother's wife gets removed and the Isser of being the wife's sister kicks in. It doesn't say that. It says that because anyway, the Isser of being the wife's sister is going to kick in, so the Isser of being the brother's wife doesn't move, doesn't get out. It doesn't clear away for Yibum, because anyway it's going to be Yasser, and therefore it remains that it's the Isser of being the brother's wife. That's why Rosh Shimon said that in this case where he died first, so then it does that the Nasa Meis married first, so then the Isser is going to be Eishasach. It remains the Isser of Eishasach. In this case, if he would have relations with her, this Reuven would have relations with the wife of Shimon, the aver that's going to be Eshesach. And don't ask the kasha if Yibum should have taken away the Isser of Eshesach. It doesn't go and take it away because it's not going to help to take it away because he's still not going to be able to do Yibum because then it's going to kick into being the wife's sister. So since it's going to kick in, so the Isser of brother's wife doesn't even remove in the first place, and it remains Eshesach. That was the kasha on the side kasha that according to the cheshbon it should come out that he should be able to do Yibum. The answer is he can't do Yibum because the Isser of Eshesach doesn't go away, even though usually it does, because over here a different Isser is going to come in its place, so it doesn't go away, and it's going to be considered Eshesach. Now the
Why
Gemara.
the fact that the two sisters push away that Eshesach? Why? That they're two sisters. Why does that?
There's an Issa called a brother's wife. There's an Issa called a wife's sister.
Yeah.
Over here, even if you're going to take away the Issa of being the brother's wife, there's another Issa standing right behind it. That's going to be the wife's sister.
Yeah.
And if that gets vacated, it's the Issa of the din of Ein Issa Issa means that once it's Issa, there's no room for the other Issa to take effect. But once the first Issa is going to be cleared, so then the second Issa is going to come. So here that it knows that, so to speak, like the psychological point of the Isurim, they don't move. The Issa of being Eshesach is not going to go away because anyway, it's not going to help to do Yibum because the other Issa is going to come in, is going to kick in. So therefore it stays and the Issa remains to be Eshesach. The Gemara continues now, but Rabbi Yossi. What do we say so far? That in this case where you had brothers, what do we say? You had this case over here that it's a brother's wife and a wife's sister. So Rabbi Shimon says it depends. It's only going to be, Rabbi Shimon says it's only going to be one Issa, the one that comes first, whichever one happened to have come first. And Rabbi Yossi says you have both of them, which the Pasha says that Rabbi Shimon holds Ein Issa Chal Issa, and it depends which one came first, second one doesn't come in. And according to Rabbi Yossi, Issa Chal Issa, and both of them take effect. That would be the Pasha in the Brisa. But the Marza Kasha that you find Rabbi Yossi someplace else seems to hold also Ein Issa Chal Issa. Here he seems to say that they're going to chayv for both. If they would have had relations, to be chayv two chatos, one for bringing a brother's wife, one for bringing a wife's sister, and we don't care which one, even though it's second, it takes effect. But we're going to ask the kasha because someplace else, Rabbi Yossi himself holds Ein Issa Chal Issa. What do we know about that? The Savri Rabbi Yossi Issa Chal Issa. He's saying Rabbi Yossi holds that two Yisum could be chal one on top of the other. But Tanya, if a person did an avera that has within it has two death penalties. He did an avera that has two death penalties. Neither b'chamura, he gets the more serious one. You can't kill him twice. You can't give him both punishments. You only can kill him once. Which punishment do you give him? The more severe one. If you give him the lenient one, you didn't do the severe one. You did the severe one, so at least you did the more severe. We'll see a case of what's considered a avera that has two misa. What's the case? He's going to be judged by the first Isser that happened to him. And it says right away an example. It talks about somebody being a mother-in-law and also being a married woman. A mother-in-law could be married. She cannot be married. It could be that she was divorced. It could be she was a widowed. So the son-in-law that has relations with his mother-in-law, we have to talk about, besides being a mother-in-law, she's also a married woman. So a married woman is chenek and a mother-in-law is sreifa. Two different death penalties. So we have relations with his mother-in-law, who also happens to be a married woman. So which punishment do we give him? Tanakama says you give him the more severe one, and we don't talk about which happened first. Means it could have been, a regular case would have been that she has a husband, she was Eshes Ish, and then the daughter got married, and now to the son-in-law, besides being a married woman, the mother-in-law is also a mother-in-law. The other case could have been that when the son-in-law married, son came into the family, so she was a mother-in-law that was not married, and then she got married. And then, so the Tanakama says, I don't care which the order was, she gets, the punishment is going to be the more serious one. I mean, Sreif and Chenek, Sreif was more chamor than Chenek. So the punishment is always going to be Sreifa. Rabbi Yossi says it depends which happened first. Ketzad, Amr Rabbi Yossi, Nidim Bezika Rishon. What's going to be the case of Rabbi Yossi saying that the first one is going to be the one that takes effect, another one not? Bezika Rishon Abba Chamoso v'nasas Eishes Ish, Nidim v'chamoso. Eishes Ish v'nasas chamoso, Nidim v'Eishes Ish. Let me make it a little bigger now, just for now. Here's a case of Chamoso v'nasas Eishes Ish. That here we have a couple, and she has a daughter, and she got married. So a case that Chamoso v'nasas Eishes Ish means that first, the man married the daughter. That was the first step, number one, and she became his mother-in-law. So that was Chamoso, and then later on she got married. So when you look at when he had relations with her, he had relations with the mother-in-law, who later on became a Eishes Ish. So if Yossi says over here, then he's going to the punishment is going to be Sreifa because Chamosa was first. But if, what did I do? Sorry. But if she was married before her daughter married the son-in-law, so she was first an Eishes Ish, and then she became the mother-in-law. So here Yossi says that the punishment is only going to be Chenek because the second Issa doesn't take effect. It is a mother-in-law. Physically, it's a mother-in-law. But the Issa of Chamosa, the punishment of Chamosa, doesn't take effect because it was first the Eishes Ish and Ein Issa Chalalissa. So the Gemara said, here's Rabbi Yossi talking, and Rabbi Yossi seems to say Ein Issa Chalalissa. Before Rabbi Yossi said that the case of the brother-in-law, the brother's wife and the wife's sister, both of them take effect. And here he seems to say Ein Issa Chalalissa. Good kasha? Any votes? Here, there's a case. Rabbi Yossi said that Issa Chalalissa, you can have both Isurim. He said before that a brother's wife and a wife's sister, both of them, they don't care which was first, the second one also could take effect. And here the Gemara's kasha is, Rabbi Yossi says, in the case where his mother-in-law was a married woman before he married the daughter, she was first the Eishes Ish, and then she became his mother-in-law, you say Ein Issa Chalalissa, and only Chai for being Eishes Ish, Chenek, and not Sreifa. So you see Ein Issa Chalalissa. So Rabbi Yossi himself says that. What happened? What's the case that Rabbi Yossi says that he gets the first favor that happened? If first she was a mother-in-law, then she became married, so then the punishment is going to be for a mother-in-law because that was first. And so if first she was a married woman and then she became the mother-in-law, so then he's only chayiv for being Eishes Ish, which means that Ein Issa Chalalissa. So it's a contradiction in Rabbi Yossi. If this is what getting into the sukkah of Issa Chalalissa, and here's what the Gemara comes in such a thing called Issa Mosif. What does Issa Mosif mean? So Issa Mosif means that if by the second Issa coming, it comes to more people become Issa in that Issa. Let's look at the chart a second. Here was the case where let's talk about Nasachai. The Gemara is going to say Nasachai. Here's a case that this brother married his wife first, and that made that he's also to marry the wife's sister. True? Then, when the second brother marries that sister, so we're talking about if the relationship that is also the brother's wife, does it also take effect? And we said if you're in a sechalala, so it shouldn't. It should just remain that it's a wife's sister and not a brother's wife. But the Gemara is saying this is called the Issa Mosif. When this brother marries this sister, there's more Isurim come upon this woman. Till now,
Double Issa.
which Issa?
Marrying.
More people become Masur in this woman than was before. When he had married he had married her, he was Asr because he was his wife's sister.
Right.
But would she be Asr to be married? Of course, if her brother's alive, she's Eishes Ish, of course not. But eventually, if he would have died, was she Asr to any other of the brothers? Other brothers could have married her. It wouldn't be Asr for them to have married her if other brother married over here. She wasn't Asa. Let's say there are more brothers over here. Once he marries her, then she's Asa to all the other brothers also because she becomes a brother's wife. So even though she was already Asa to him as being a wife's sister, when he marries and now she becomes Asa, the Isser of brother's wife does take effect for the other brothers.
Right.
So then it goes on him also. Migo, since the Isser of Eshesach is going to have an effect on other people, this woman becomes Asa more than she was before because of the other brothers. So that Issa also applies to the first brother also. So that's called Issa Mosif. Even though you say Ein Issa Chalal Issa, but if by the second Issa does take effect on something, that this woman becomes Asa to more people because of the second Issa. If it doesn't have any effect, any ramifications, then it doesn't take effect. But here it has ramifications. It has ramifications on the other brothers. So then,
why? But she's a yevamos. She's got to keep her husband's seed alive. What's going on? I'm missing something.
Is there for any of the brothers to marry this woman? If
I don't see why not. I don't see why not.
again, this brother married a woman. Ruvain, I should have made names. Ruvain married Leah.
Okay.
Is it us if any of the brothers to marry this woman?
No.
Good.
Good.
When this brother marries this woman, is it us if any other brothers to marry her from
Yes.
now on?
Yes.
Yes. What's the Issa called? The brother's wife.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I have to know. So since the Issa,
Is that only married if there's other brothers?
I'm sorry.
If there aren't any other brothers, does that make a difference?
If there are brothers or not, I don't know if it makes a difference if there are, if there happen to be other brothers or not. I don't know. I don't know. So this is called Issa Mosif. Even the old Issa Chalalissa, Issa Mosif overrides and says yes, that since the Issa is taking effect on some people, this Issa, this Chaticha, what the Gemara called this Chaticha, this piece, this woman, is becoming Issa on more people. So that Issa, that second Issa does also apply, take effect on the first brother also. Even though for him it's already Issa, it's already it's a Issa for a different reason. So in Issa Chalal Issa, but if the second Issa is having an effect on other people, it has an effect on him also, and it becomes Issa on two counts. And that's what the Gemara is saying, that there's a Issa Mosif. That's why Yossi said that it's high for both, because it's Issa Mosif. What was the kasha? That Yossi holds Ein Issa Chalal Issa by the mother-in-law, by the this Aisha Sish. Over there, the Gemara is saying it's not an Issa Mosif, and we have to talk about that. But over here, there's an Issa Mosif. Here, the reason why being a brother's wife adds on to the woman to become Mosif to other brothers, so it goes on him also, and therefore he's Moda at Issa Chalal Issa over here. But the Muslim Kasha, that's only good for this case. But in this case, it's not Mosif. In this case, what happened? First, it was a brother's wife. He got married first. So she was usher to him because it's a brother's wife. When he married her,
Sister.
the wife, he married the sister, does it make her usher on more people? She was usher already to all the brothers.
Right.
So him marrying the sister doesn't make her more usher. So there's no Issa Mosif. So Yossi should not say, in this case, Yossi should say that it's only high for brother's wife, not for the wife's sister. That's the Gemara's kasha. Up. Tene chechad and asachai v'achach nasa meis. Migul di tosef is ol gabe yachim, di tosef is ol gabe didei. Elechad and nasa meis v'achach nasa chai, ma'isa mosefika. But we just said that in the first case of nasa chai v'achach nasa meis, over there we understand that there's Issa Mosif. But in the second case of nasa meis v'achach nasa chai, there is no case of Issa Mosif. She's not becoming Issa to more people. The Gemara goes into another thing called now Issa Kola. Where is that? Issa Kola. Let's make it on also highlighting. Where's that?
So now we'll finish this the most.
Right, there's going to be more coming up in this, but right now we finished. That's called Issa Mosif. Just to go back a second, if we want to go back to the case of the mother-in-law, what's the case over there? Over there it says that Aisha Sish v'Nasas Chamosa. She was first a married woman, and then her daughter married somebody, and she became his mother-in-law. Is that called Issa Mosif? Does she become Masa to more people by the son marrying her daughter? No. She was Aisha Sish. She was asked everybody already. So the Issa Chamosa is not Mosif any more Yisurim on her than the Aisha Sish that she was. Rashi has the kasha that the other way, in this case, if it first was a mother-in-law, and she was not an Aisha Sish, and then when she becomes an Aisha Sish, it is an Issa Mosif, because now it becomes Asa to everybody. So that Issa should also take effect. So Rashi says, yes, it does. But we're talking about how are you going to kill him? So Chamoso is a Sreifa, and Aisha Sish is only skill. Rashi says, in this case, it is going to be considered as a Mosif, but that doesn't take effect. That doesn't help the point about which means you're going to get. As far as two chatos, yes, the dichayk two chatos if you did a b'shogeg. But here, that did it b'mezes, so then he give him the more stringent death penalty. But anyway, the Gemara is trying to figure out, Rabbi Yossi, you're saying that you're molded by Yisrael Mosif, but there's no Yisrael Mosif over here. They had a case of Nasa Meis, V'achach Nasa Chai, that it was for a brother, and it became a wife's sister, nothing else is added on to more people. The Gemara says there is something happening. To go back over here. in this case, when the brother married first and she became a brother's wife to all the brothers, it's true. When this man, the Reuben, is going to marry the sister, she's not going to become usher to more people. But something else is happening. He becomes usher in all of her sisters. If this woman has other sisters, before he wasn't usher. When the brother had married, so then he wasn't usher to marry the sisters, but now that he marries this woman, then he becomes usher in more sisters. That's not called this a mosif, that's called this a kolon. Kolon means that that more people are included in the issa. There's a new issa coming on that affects other people, so then it affects him also. So those are the two terminologies, which I don't understand well why the terminology is like that. But issa mosif means that to become more isurim on that, more people become usher on that first issa that was. This woman was usher. More people become usher. That's called issa mosif. And if more people don't become usher in her, but more people, the second issa is going to affect more people. Here the case is going to be that when he marries this woman, so then more people are affected. This woman herself is not going to become more usher, but more people are going to become usher. So the fact that when he marries her, more people become usher he becomes usher to marry the other sisters. So then he's usher that issur also takes effect on that sister also. So it becomes also a chos ishto. Even though it was already the brother's wife, it also becomes now the wife's sister, because this issur being a wife's sister is taking effect on other people, other sisters. So it also takes effect on that. But the Gemara says no. But the Gemara is saying that if he doesn't hold the visa kola, he does hold the visa mosif. That's going to be a sugi coming up more tomorrow. But so far the Gemara says that in the case where it was a brother's wife first and then a wife's sister, Rabbi Yossi shouldn't agree. Shouldn't say it's a mosif, yes, but it's a kol or not. That he becomes now about the other sisters, his wife's other sisters. That's called the kol, not it's a mosif, and Rabbi Yossi not mod over there. So that's the kasha. Steven Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, by the case of the brother's wife and the wife's sister, he says the for both, and here he says only by his mosif he might agree, but the case of marrying the one who married the brother's wife and then became a wife's sister, he should have said. And he says doesn't make sense. Why should be chayv shtayim? That's Stephen Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara answers Ella Amar Rava Malani Alav Kilu was shtayim then chayv alachas. It doesn't mean to say chayv shtayim. It's really only chayv one. It just means that he's a terrible guy. That he did two affairs. He married a brother's wife and a wife's sister. It means it's the same person. He has two. It's not really
one, but he's like
right. Technically, he's only chayv one. We're going to say the case over here. Technically, he's only chayv one, because it was a brother's wife and then a wife's sister. He doesn't hold this a kola. So it's only technically how many chatos would be, if it would have been b'shogeg, then how many chatos would it be chayiv? It'd only be chayiv one, a brother's wife, not a wife's sister. But still, it's considered like he did two. What does it mean? The Gemara doesn't know what it means yet. What does it mean it's considered that he did two? The mice only chayiv one, but we consider it as if it's two. What does all that mean? Where he gets buried. Right. What does that mean? Rashi brings down that Beis Din used to bury the Rishonim in different burial plots. They didn't get into the regular Beis HaKvaros. They had a special place for this. For people who did Averos B'mezid, people who did it B'mezid. So then talks about, Rashi brings down the Mishnah and Sanhedrin, a Mishnah, I think. I forgot if it's a Mishnah or Gemara that talks about Rashi says a Mishnah. There are two cemetery plots for the people that were killed capital punishment. Means they had to bury them also after they did skila straight. They buried them. Where did they bury them? They had a special plot for the people that were killed by skila and streifa, and a special one that was killed for nerogan and echnakim. And so too, and they couldn't bury them. They couldn't bury in the family plot. They were chayiv misa. They died by best capital punishment. They buried them by two different levels of rishon. Wow. And here Rashi says also that we're gonna. So Rashi says that also you bury them in that same plot. Places says not. Just to see the places over here that they're not going to get buried in these places. He was talking about just that he's considered more of a sinner. Local Moshe that you bury him mamish by skill sreifa, but no, it just means that it's a more severe avera, and you don't. The halach is you don't bury a Russian next to a tzaddik. As far as burial, that's halach. You're not supposed to bury a Russian next to a tzaddik. And this person is considered a big Russia, that he had relations with a woman who's both her brother's wife and the wife's sister. And even though technically he's only the first Enis Echalalisser, that's as far as how many Kabbalah he's chayiv. But he did Lamaisi, he had a relation with that woman, so we would bury him in a place with a more bigger Rishon and not by the smaller Rishon. The Gemara continues. This whole point about this list, the Gemara is going to bring down machlokas. The rest of the page is relatively easy, and it's going to bring down 3 machlokas. Just to give a preview. It's going to say 3 points. The Gemara is going to say 3 points, three machlokas, and all the same is going to be the same. A Zor, a non-Kohen, who did avod in the base of Mikdash on Shabbos. So a Zor is not allowed to do avod in the base of Mikdash, and on Shabbos, if the fact that it's avod is possible, he's also being Mechal Shabbos. A Kohen could do an avod on Shabbos. Right. Those components that you're allowed to do on Shabbos, the Korban Tamid, the Korban Musaf. So if a Kohen would have done it, would have been good. Now that a Zor did it, so it's not good on 2 counts because it's Shabbos. It's considered Mechal Shabbos. The fact that it's a Zor shouldn't have done the avoda. There's a machlokas in the Mishnah. It's chayv misa for that. Rashi goes with the chachamim that say that's not chayv misa b'chlal. It's chayv misa b'dei shamayim. Rabbi Kiva over there says that it's chayv chenek, but Rashi says even according to Madama that says that it's not chayv misa, but it's vera. Right. And now the question is, yes, but it's also yes, true. That's the main point. But also the zar. The zar is not going to be chayv misa b'dei bezdin. It's not chayv chatas, but it's going to be chayv misa b'dei shamayim. And he's counted on both counts. He did 2. Rabbi says he did 2 things bad on both counts. Another case is going to be a balmum that did avoda and he's betuma. So a balmum is not allowed to do avoda, and a tamei kohen is not allowed to do avoda. And here both of them. And the case would be that it would be a kind of a case where the kohen would have been able to do the avoda because it will be like tumut b'tzibur, something like that. A case where the kohen could have done it, but now that so it's not a kosher. So now he's counting on 2 counts against them.
Right.
Yes, but now that it's
you don't know yet?
I don't.
You have to answer me right now.
No, I don't know if they're going to talk about it. Rashi might have spoken about it.
No.
I forgot.
Okay.
But the question is going to be: is he chayv on 2 counts, only on 1 count? And the third case is going to be a zor who ate the bird that was nimlak, means the regular way is shech the bird is b'shchita. But in the base of Mikdash, the kohenim, the chata sof, the ola sof, they do malika, and the kohenim eat it. Kohenim eat malika, means the chata sof is supposed to be eaten, and the way that it was slaughtered was not with a knife; it was done by malika. And for kohen it would have been mutter, but now he's a zor; he's not supposed to be eating it. And now he's a zor eating a zor that is eating kachim that he's not supposed to, and also he's eating malika, which is nevela. Usually malika is nevela, only for the kohen supposed to eat it. So that's the question. In these 3 cases, Rabbi is going to be say, and all these 3 cases, in each case is chayv on 2 counts, right. And Bakapar is going to say, in all these 3 cases, is only chayv on 1 count. That's going to be the rest of the daf of the Gemara, and we'll see inside what's happening. Missed something up. Okay. I hope that's showing. And this issue is a machlokes. We're going to go into this a kolel. Today we're not going to go so far, but we're going to see all these cases. It might be a kolel, or we'll see as we go on tomorrow. But the Gemara says this issue we just finished talking about, the Yosi with this a kolel, is a machlokes. The Itma we learned in a Gemara. Zar sheshimish b'Shabbos. This is the first case. Let's highlight it. Zar. Zor sheshimish b'Shabbos. A non-Kohen that did avoda in the base of Mikdash on Shabbos. Rabbi Chia says he's chayv on 2 counts. Bakapar says he's only chayv on 1 count. Kafa, this very interesting Gemara. Kafa Rabbi Chia v'nishba avoda kach shemati mirevi shtayim. Rabbi Chia jumped up and he said, I swear by the base of Mikdash avoda that I heard from Rebbe that is chayv shtayim. Kavas Bakapar v'nishba avoda kach shemati mirevi achas. Bakapar jumped up and swore opposite. I swear that I heard from Rebbe only chayv 1. So Rabbi Chia started explaining why he holds that he's chayv shtayim. Shabbos l'kol Nasra, Shabbos also for everybody, not allowed to do mulach on Shabbos. And then the base of Mikdash you are allowed to. Kishutra Mikdash, Eisel Kohanim Mutra, the Kohanim Mutra, below the Zohar. Even though it was permitted to do a vote in the base of Mikdash on Shabbos, like for the Korban, Talmud, the Korban Shabbos, but that's only for the Kohanim. The Kohanim was below the Zohar. Yesh kam mishum Zoros, yesh kam mishum Shabbos. So if the Zohar did malacha and the avod in the base of Mikdash on Shabbos, so it's chayv on 2 counts because it never said that it's mutter for him to do it on Shabbos. For a kohen it would have been mutter, but for a zar not. So it's chayv on 2 counts, also for a zar, also for Shabbos. And then Bakapar started explaining him how come he holds only chayv 1. Shabbos l'kol Nesra, true. Shabbos also for everybody. Kishutra b'mikdash shutra, and then it's mutter in the base of Mikdash. Not dafka for kohanim. In kanel zoros. It's only issue of doing it on kohen. You can't count against him that he did avoda in Shabbos. Because Shabbos is mutter in the Beis Hamikdash for avoda. It's true, he did it ber avoda, but there's no Isra on Shabbos because the Kohen could have done it. That's the first machlokas. The Gemara is going to say the same thing over again 2 more times. The same format is going to come 2 more times. Now goes the second case. Balmun, Sheshimesh Betumah. He's a Kohen Balmun, and he did avoda, and he's also Tameh. So here says Chayv on 2 counts for Balmum and for Tumah, but of course only 1. Both of them swore that I heard from Rebbe what I said. If he said, I swear that I heard.
Not to say he jumped up.
Yes, he jumped up and he swore I heard from Rebbe, it's Chayv 2. Bakapar jumped up and said, I swear that I heard from Rebbe, he's only Chayv 1. And then again, he's going to explain to themselves. This he started explaining. That there was a Isser to do avoda the Tumah. And there's a het in the Beis Hamikdash for Kohen. It means when they did it by the Korban Tzibur. In a case for Tumah to Tzibur, the Kohen are allowed to do it. But only for Kohanim Tamimim, only for Kohanim that are not Bali Mumim, unblemished. But for Bali Mumim, the Torah never permitted it. So therefore, if a Bali Mumim did avoda the Tumah, says Chayv on 2 counts. Yesh Kam Mishum Bali Mumim, and also because Tumah. But the Bakapar said no. He's not Bakapar. Then he explained no. Tumah Lakol Nesra, but Shehutra B'Mikdash. When the Torah says that you're not to do avoda b'tumah for a korban tzibur, tumah b'tzibur, so then it's mutter. There's no issue tumah b'korban tzibur. And even though he did it, he was a balmum. Okay, that's the problem. The problem is that it's balmum, but not a problem of doing it b'tumah. And kana ela mishum balmum, and that's what Baka holds. He's only chayiv for 1 count. And the third case, zor she'achal malika, a non-kohen that ate a bird of kachim, which was not slaughtered by a knife but a finger, which is malika. Rabchia Omer Chayv Shtayim, Bakabam Chayv Al Achas. Again, same focus. Is a Chayv on 2 counts, only 1. Kavas Rabchia V'Nishba Abod Dekach Shmatim Rebbe Shtayim. Kavas Bakabam V'Nishba Abod Dekach Shmatim Rebbe Achas. Each one swore, jumped up and swore in the name of Rebbe. That's what they heard, either 2 or 1. And then each one started explaining himself. Hischel Rabchia Lodan Nevelo L'Chol Nesra Kishutu B'Migdash Esel Kohanim Hutra L'Kohanim Hutra V'Lo L'Zorim. When the Torah says that a Kohen is allowed to eat malika, even though it's nevela usually, that's only for the Kohanim. But there wasn't mutter in the Beis Hamikdash for non-Kohanim. Below the Zorim. And Mamela, if a Zar ate malika, yesh kam mishum zos, yesh kam mishum malika. So therefore, it's 5 on 2 counts. It's told about Paul Laden, the Vela will call Nesra, Kishutra B'Migdash Shutra. It doesn't say dafka for the Kohanim. It's mutter. There's no Isra malika in the Beis Hamikdash. And Mamela, when the non-Kohen, the Zar ate the malika, he's only chayiv and kana el mishum zos. He only did 1 thing more. Those are the 3 cases. Now we stop for today, but that is what the Gemara is going to go now into the next line. So that's where we're up to, and then was going to go back, link it back to what we said just now before, that there was an issue about Issachar. Before we said that Yossi holds a Vissamosif, but he doesn't hold the Issachar. Again, Issachar means that the new Isser is going to take effect on more people. Issamosif means that the new Isser is going to make the Isser more.
So that's not more people.
More people.
More people
are going to be Usser. More people are going to be Usser in this Chatifa. Issamosif means more people are going to be Usser in this Chatifa. And Issachar means that the person is going to be Usser on more Chatifas, on more.
Person.
In the case of the brother's wife and the wife's sister, the case of Issamosif means that this woman's already. The one who was the wife's sister is now going to be also more other brothers. The same woman is going to be also to more brothers. Right. And the case of Issachar was first was a brother's wife, and now he's marrying the sister. And the fact that it's now going to become the wife's sister, it doesn't make that woman more asa. She was already asa to the brother, but now it's the man, is going to become asa in more chatichos. He's going to be asa more in the other sisters. So that's called Issachar. And the Gemara says that this week said according to Yossi, it's the most yes. Issachar or not. Now the Gemara seems to say that Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Kapar are arguing, going to Rabbi Yossi, if he holds if it's a kola or not, which will be stayed tuned to tomorrow. Yes, everybody.
You heard good today?
We're asking if the audio was good today.
Much better.
Much better, but it sounds like it's not yet 100%.
Almost.
Almost, okay. Okay.
Yashikova.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.